Well, there it is. Hi guys, this is Witty, and thanks to people like Real Petrov who let me know that Blizzard are looking for a senior game designer, I can bring you this video with my thoughts and opinions, because that's kind of what he was looking for. So if you fancy listening to those, then feel free to continue on this video as we discover what the hell the senior game designer is all about. Well, over at Blizzard Entertainment, they're looking for a new position in the classic games team. This position is for a senior game designer. There are only two jobs at the moment for the classics game team that seem to be up for grabs. The first one being senior software engineer anti-cheat, which I covered before in a recent vlog. Well, actually, I say recent. I think it was like a month or so ago. I can always put that video in the video description below if you want to check that out. And they obviously haven't found someone for that yet. But the other jobs that sort of popped up here and there, they've kind of disappeared because there's been more than just these two. And now we're left with the senior game designer. So, what is it all about? Well, according to the description, Classic Games is looking for a driven designer. The position will charge you with providing creative decision that respects the past and designs for the future. Your breadth of experience should have you capable of handling everything from game systems to balance to user interface UI design. So they're asking for quite a lot. Apparently this person's going to have a fair bit of experience behind their belt. So, I'm going to go through these lists, so to speak, and kind of sort of break it down how I see it, because that's really the only way to do it, because I'm not that much of a technical minded person, nor am I very academic. However, I will try to give you my opinions on these, well, these things that they come up with. So let's start off with the actual paragraph that I just read out there. So the Classic Games is looking for a driven designer. So this person actually could be a younger person, just coming across as driven. It almost strikes me as that, but I don't know, maybe I'm looking into it too much detail. This is probably I'm going to overanalyze a little bit here, but they obviously want someone with passion to make this work, which is great. That's what you're looking for, really. So anyone that's passionate about Warcraft 3 is a good thing. So they're looking for people that also providing creative direction, so that respects the past and designs for the future. So someone that understands, have perhaps played previous games and want to take the best out of those out of that time, and essentially bring it forward to the modern era right now where we live, where game design is far more about progression and such. And that just gave me an idea. I wonder if they're going to put progression into Warcraft 3. Okay, we'll go into that in a bit more detail later on, because I'll discuss that as I go through these points. So basically they want this person to be capable of dealing with game systems, balance, and user interface. So really that's like everything basically. It's not just specifically a balancer, or they've got to do a lot, this person, so they have to be very varied in terms of how much they can handle. So if you're up for this position, good luck. Alright, let's take a look at responsibilities. So champion design, principles, ideas and features with a multidisciplinary team environment. Alright, I wrote down a few notes here. My interpretation of this was to coordinate design plans for Warcraft 3 with other members of different teams, be they art, technical or anti-map hack, etc. So it's a fancy way of saying, look, get some damn good ideas and work well with other people that are amongst the classic games team, perhaps other teams in Blizzard, to try to make them happen. Because Blizzard do use a lot of their teams to sort of co-op a little bit with each other in terms of projects that they're working on, or to help promote other games. So for example, you could look at Heroes of the Storm that has used Diablo characters in their game, or even the new Overwatch character like Tracer, and brought that into Heroes of the Storm. And those teams would have had to have worked together. So I wonder if the Classics game team even do coordinate with the other teams, such as Diablo, Hearthstone, Overwatch, etc. I wonder if they do, because I don't know if they're just too old school, you know? Let me know. Obviously, feel free on any of the points I make just to put your opinions in the comment section below. You're probably going to be far more sort of knowledgeable of this kind of thing than I am, to be quite frank with you, so you'll come up with better things than I will. So the next point is guide developers on interface and game system implementation. So the first thing that came to my mind for this was StarCraft 2 interface, etc. on Warcraft 3. In fact, even mentions up above the fact that it's looking for interface UI design. So it comes round to sort of making Warcraft 3 work on StarCraft 2. I really hope that's not quite the way it goes. It has to play like Warcraft 3. They can do whatever the fuck they like, as long as it actually plays like Warcraft 3 plays and isn't different. If they mess up body blocking and micro and the way units move in general and feel and surrounds, then they're going to kind of kill the game, in my opinion, at least with the competitive scene. So you got to be real careful with that. So this speaks more about the UI, the interface. That's less likely to affect the mechanics of the game. So I don't know if it's StarCraft 2. The interface, perhaps sort of like the menu system and such. I have to imagine it's more along the lines of the menu system, the custom games list, all that kind of stuff. How that's going to work, how Warcraft 3 will fit in, because Warcraft 3 would be great for that. Warcraft 3 is the best custom game, so they could find a way to put them on a nice filtered list. That'd be fantastic, because the list that we have at the moment is rubbish if you've ever tried to use it, which I doubt many of you even bothered. It's just a refresh job and hope for the best and see the game that you like. So anyway, moving on. Ensure the highest level of usability, playability and engagement. So they want people to keep coming back for more and getting addicted. Well, Warcraft 3 will help do that. And the way I read this one is I actually wrote down here, custom games with microtransactions. Want that shiny new tower in Legion TD? 10 Blizz bucks. That's exactly what I wrote down here. By the way, I made these notes whilst I was at work. Don't tell anyone. So, I'm busy. I've got things to do. I've got a multi-macro management myself, you know? And that's an effective use of my time sometimes. So yeah, I'm kind of joking around along the lines of Blizzard wanting people to come back for more. And how do they do that? They put progression in. This is again going back to those ideas of progressions, achievements, character skin unlocks. Perhaps some of it's paid for, perhaps some of it's achieved and earned through playability. Let me know. Now the next point, work creatively and iteratively within technical limitations. So this is kind of along the lines of stretching what they can do with the engine. Think World of Warcraft is what I wrote down. World of Warcraft is a bloody old game, not as old as Warcraft 3, but not far off it really. And they've had to consistently iterate on that engine to try to make it look as shiny, new and interactive as possible for the customers to look at this game and say, okay, I could still play this in this day and age. And I guess that's kind of what they're looking to do a little bit with Warcraft 3. So that, again, brings it back into a StarCraft 2, which is a much more modern RTS for Blizzard. In comparison to Warcraft 3, it came out 8 years later than Warcraft 3. And is still being worked on to this day with the Nova packs. But it's more or less at its tail end now, I would say, StarCraft 2. So I wouldn't call it that modern, but you get the idea. Now let's look at the requirements. I guess these points are just going to be standard stuff. Absolute passion for playing and making great games. I guess that helps really when you're looking for a job about designing games. Yeah, that's a given. I'm not even sure why that's wrote down, to be honest. Extensive experience in current strategy games and familiarity with multiplayer and esports. Now this is interesting. Bear in mind that this position, it's been theorized and it's explained, I think, a little bit in this, especially a bit later on, that it's not necessarily just for Warcraft 3. I am pimping this out a little bit as though it's for Warcraft 3. Bear in mind that this designer is going to be responsible, or most likely to be responsible, for not just Warcraft 3. Games such as StarCraft, perhaps even Diablo and others. I doubt so much Diablo, much more likely StarCraft and Warcraft 3. So it is a job for the Classics Games team. So perhaps that does still affect Diablo. And when I say Diablo, I don't mean Diablo 3, I mean Diablo 1 and 2. So this person might be responsible for designing the way that a HD version of Warcraft 1, 2, 3, Diablo 1 and 2, and StarCraft, the original game, might look. That's how I interpret it. Feel free to tell me that I'm a twat. Now, let's go on to our next point. What was the next point? Oh no, I didn't actually quite cover the esports. That was really weird. I guess they need to make it so it's functional with esports. I mean, Warcraft 3 is still really big. I mean, you can check Twitch and you can see it's being covered quite consistently, especially in the competitive scene with the Chinese players going at it in regular tournaments, such as ones that Back to Warcraft often covers, as well as others. I Train Hume, he does it on his YouTube, where he goes over replays, mostly older replays, but he's still like in the competitive scene, keeping an eye on that sort of stuff. There's others as well, and there's definitely a strong passion for Warcraft 3 in terms of esports, and there is definitely a potential for it. I mean, the game, people freaking go nuts for Dota, okay? Dota came from Warcraft 3. And they love the way that heroes interact with each other in those games. All these abilities, these powers, these spells. Well, that's exactly what Warcraft 3 has in abundance. So why aren't we watching it? Well, perhaps they'll make a move to make that happen. We'll have to wait and see. Next point, excellent collaboration skills and ability to see multiple perspectives for any design. Oh, that's a big one, isn't it? I might have to read that out twice. Excellent collaboration skills, so working well with others, and ability to see multiple perspectives for any design. Again, working well with others and saying, yeah, your idea is good, mate. Well done. So that's kind of straightforward, really, when I read that out the second time. Experience designing simple to understand yet deep game systems. Now, this one's a little bit more complex from my mind. I could deal with the simple part, but the deep game systems? I guess that's just the deeper layers of the interface, the menu systems, the custom games list that I talked about a little bit earlier. Maybe? Perhaps I'm entirely wrong. Next point, knowledge of game system logic, game scripting or programming. I guess that's a more generic requirement that might not necessarily be very specific to the job in hand, but a good overall sort of jack of all trades kind of quality to have on your CV that they're looking for. Basically someone that can deal with games and handle them in terms of programming, scripting, logic, all that kind of stuff that they're going to have to deal with when it comes to gaming, because games are essentially a whole bunch of scripted code. And there's people far smarter than me that know how to actually create them. I just know how to play them. So yeah, it is probably a very important requirement. Now, looking at the pluses, we get to a couple of interesting ones with this one. Not so sure about the first one, but I'll read it out anyway because I like to give equality to all. Experience in user interface and interaction design with representative wireframes or mock-ups. Again, this just keeps coming back to my thoughts of how the chat will work, how just think StarCraft. If any of you have logged into StarCraft 2, it's kind of got this weird chat frame, and every single time you pull up a different menu, be it single player campaign or custom games, whatever it might be, the arcade, they've all got this kind of strange sort of backdrop to them, as well as a little window in front that you can use to filter for maps and stuff like that. I assume it's to do with that, and maybe make that much more appealing and easier to access for the average user, perhaps. Experience, I'm going to have to say perhaps after everything here, because to be honest, I don't know what I'm talking about. Although these are just my honest opinions reading this out. I'm not exactly a game designer, which is why I'm not applying for the job before you ask. Experience with game editors, with emphasis on StarCraft or Warcraft 3. Interesting how it says StarCraft or Warcraft 3, not StarCraft and Warcraft 3. I guess if you know one, you kind of know the other. How true is that, though? There's probably a bunch of Warcraft 3 editors that have actually tried to use the StarCraft 2 editor. Although I did say StarCraft 2, it's more... This actually only just says StarCraft. I don't know if it's necessarily referring to StarCraft 2. It does say StarCraft. Otherwise, wouldn't it say StarCraft 2? Okay, well, this, again, is a big point towards, again, it is obviously the Classics game team. So, kind of get StarCraft 2 out of your head, other than the modern look that it has, the interface that it has that they're probably trying to bring Warcraft 3 and that onto. I wonder if it's going to be some weird amalgamation where it isn't technically StarCraft 2, that they're going to, not that engine that they're going to bring it on, they're going to bring it onto... Is it just going to be the original engine? It have to be, because otherwise the games won't play the same way. What's the point of bringing out a HD version of StarCraft or a HD version of Warcraft 3? People play it. It looks better, but it also plays completely different. As in, this isn't anything like StarCraft or anything like Warcraft 3. Sure, it looks good, but it doesn't play anything. So I don't think they'll want to do that. It has to be that they're trying to find some sort of way to remodify the graphics, keep the game engine, but put it onto a platform like a website. Not a website, but you know what I mean, like an interface that people access to create games and do things with Warcraft 3 or StarCraft or Diablo 1 or 2. One great... It's basically the Battle.net app, but more sort of like optional windows that you would click on here and there. As if you were actually in one of those games, but it's not. I feel like it's not actually going to be... You're not technically in Warcraft 3 until you actually join that game or start that game. Then it will probably load up Warcraft 3 quickly. I don't know. Again, let me know. Experience in usability testing and analysis. Oh, God. Analysis. There we go. Yeah, it's just kind of standard, really. You know, test your product, make sure it works, see what was wrong, and then go from there. Science. Experience with development tools. So this is more deep along the game design era, where I wouldn't know about these things unless I went to an actual college or university to study for these things. So development tools are obviously just things to help create the actual games themselves and develop them, you might think. Well, there we have it. We're at the end of our little discussion here, people. Hopefully you had fun and you let me know what you think, because this is certainly exciting. This is a pretty important job role. Like, the others were far more sort of not niche, but specific. For example, the anti-cheat job was specifically for working on anti-cheat. This is kind of an all-rounder, but it's an all-rounder for the classic games. StarCraft, Warcraft 3 is mentioned there, and we can possibly imagine Diablo 1, or even go even deeper to Warcraft 1 and 2. So, with that in mind, this person has got a lot cut out for them. Am I stretching too far by asking for Diablo 1 and 2 and Warcraft 1 and 2? Should we just focus on StarCraft or Warcraft 3? Is this a job you're going to be applying for? Let me know in the comment section below, guys, and what your opinions are on Blizzard's just all of this, really. I kind of want to help suss it out, so let me know and I'll get back to you soon on that. Alright then, guys, thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, because in the near upcoming weeks I will probably be doing a lot more delving into essentially what could potentially be with Warcraft 3 HD and a potential Warcraft 4. Don't get your hopes up on the last one. That's just me literally mentioning the potential of it. It's not like I have inside information yet. But these are just things I want to kind of delve into a little bit more. So your comments will actually help quite a little bit. So feel free to thumbs up the video as well, because that will help others to see it. And then they'll also put their comments down, and then we can all have a good old debate about this. Right then. Take care. I'll see you later.